to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening. First on the agenda tonight is Spins Bowl, 23 Old Route 6, here for a public hearing. Doesn't seem to be anyone here from Spins Bowl right now, so why don't we go to next on the agenda, House of Prayer and Worship, 365 Hill Street, site plan review.
No, the door out there.
Mike?
Yeah, there's a list of 6 variances that are required from the zoning board. I put in my memo that the parking calculation needs to be put on the plan. It is on the plan. I did not see it. That was my bad. The parking is based on the total occupancy. The total occupancy will be posted at 51, including the pastor. So that's what they're going to go with. So they really do need to be referred to the zoning board of appeals to get these variances. And everything is basically for existing conditions except for the parking. The parking is not paved because of the wetlands.
Okay, thank you. Pat, do you have Richard? Who has Richard's comments?
I don't have them with me, no.
I do not either.
Pat, why don't we do yours while Anthony checks to see Rich?
Right, so I had no additional specific comments. The one issue that we addressed at the last meeting, if you recall, were the porta potties behind the building. So Joel made representations of how that would be integrated into the building. They would be accessible from inside the building. The details that have been submitted do not reflect that. It reflects typical industrial porta potties on the outside of the building that would be accessed from the back of the building into the individual porta potties. So that's different from what Joel told you at the last meeting. So that should be explained, and we'll let Joel explain that to you.
Okay, thank you. And Anthony found Richard's comments online. Would you please summarize them for us, Anthony?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Okay, House of Prayer and Worship, these are Rich Franzetti, Town Engineer's comments. He stated all the documents he reviewed. The site of the former Methodist Church, which is to become the House of Prayer and Worship, both the site plan application and the SEAF identification. This is the project proposed use, operation, and proposal action respectively. This site is .02044 acres in size. Based upon our review of the submittal, the engineering department offers the following preliminary comments. He breaks them down into general comments. Referrals would be warranted from Mahopac Falls Fire Department, New York State DEC Wetlands, New York State DEP, increase in impervious area, Putnam County Health Department, and Department of Planning. Permits would appear to be necessary, New York State Department of Environmental Conservation Wetlands, Putnam County Department of Health for water and septic. Area of disturbance for the work is provided in the SEAF is 4,364 square feet. He goes on to talk about the threshold. The applicant will need to provide additional information as to why the area of disturbance has been lowered from 5,723 square feet to 4,367 square feet when the site work has not been changed. Number 4, should any public improvements be deemed necessary as part of the development of the track, a performance bond and associated engineering fee must eventually be established for this work. The facility, number 5, the facility is not served by either water or septic. The applicant proposes a new well and a use of a porta potties. Approval from the Putnam County Department of Health will be required for the well and possibly the use of the porta potties for this recommendation use. Detailed comments. He puts on the drawings. There's about 7 of them. Joel, you can get those from Rose.
Yeah, I'll go over them.
I'm not going to go through all
Most
of
of
them.
them are taken care of, but I'll go over that.
Okay.
Thank you. Joe, do you have any comments on what was just
Certainly
read?
do. Yes. Well, I think you've all seen the site plan. I think you all know the church, as we talked about just before the meeting. This goes back to we found the original, well, we found a deed dating back to 1877, but there's a good chance that this was built even before that. So it's a very charming church. We don't want to really make any major changes to the look of it, so that the only thing that we're going to do, which you'll see in a rendering, is we've added handicap ramp to have access, because unfortunately, the finished floor of the church is about two and a half steps higher than the grade, so we do have to put a handicap ramp in. As far as the comments, Mike's comments are basically the same variances that we show in our drawing, going through what Rich said. All the referrals he talks about, we've referred to all these agencies: Fire Department, the New York City DEC, the New York DEP, New York State DEC, Putnam County Health Department. What else? And the Department of Health has the application to drill the well, and we've explained to them exactly how we're going to do get the water into these porta potties. We forwarded to all the agencies, and the question that he asked is how did the area disturbance change? If you recall, at the last meeting, except for the area for the handicap parking, what we decided to do was the area where the other parking cars are going to be parked will not be paved. They'll just be gravel, which is a porous material. So it's just going to be gravel over the existing grade, so that's really not an area of disturbance. So that's how we were able to get it from 5723 to 4367. This has been, Rich has had this on every one of his memos, and we've repeated it over and over again. There are no public improvements, but he keeps putting it in there, so.
Joel, I'm sorry, the area of disturbance, you just explain that to me again? I missed that.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, what happened was the area where the parking, except for the handicap parking, which we know has to be a
Paved.
permanent surface.
Right.
That area is just going to be gravel now. We're going to put gravel over the existing grade.
But wasn't that on the last plan, so why the change?
Well, no, what happened was I didn't change the SEAF.
Oh, okay.
That's why he brought it up.
Got it.
Okay. As far as the water, there is no septic system. As I mentioned to you now, the well is going to be proposed for the lower left-hand corner of the property. All of the parking that's there now in front of the building will be eliminated, and we're going to have large planters in front of the building, so that there's no chance of people parking there. If you've driven by there and pulled in forward and try to back out, it's a chore, especially with cars coming around at well over the 30-mile speed limit, as I'm sure you know. He also talks about a legend. We do, if you look at all the drawings, we do have a legend there that's done. The depth of the groundwater, we did a test today and found out that the groundwater level is about 5 feet below grade, and our storm tech units, which are for the drainage, will only be about 30 inches. So they'll be 2 to 2.5 feet below. The water table will be at least 2.5 feet below the storm tech units. And the storm tech units will have what's called 820 loading, which means cars and trucks can go over them without crushing them. It says here, all plantings shall be verified by the wetlands inspector. I assume when we get that approval, he'll take a look at our plantings and let us know if they're okay. As far as the porta potty, Pat is 100% correct. I did contact the company that they rent the porta potty from, and that's okay. I got it. Oh, thank you. All right, this is their standard unit, and Pat is correct, the way we see this detail. The only reason I put that detail on, because one of the questions that the consultants and the board had was whether or not the porta potties would be accessible for handicap, and that's the one thing that I did get out of their brochure, that it is. However, the door will be put at a point where it's going to be, in fact, if you look right here, this is the altar here, so this is the 2 porta potties, and these 2 windows will become doors. And
Joe, can you talk into my?
oh, I'm sorry. And these 2 windows will become doors into the porta potty, and obviously it'll be sealed structurally so that there's no, you know,
Can you go back up? The way I read the diagram in your plans is there is no access from the rear of the church, the building, to the porta potty. Are you saying now there is going to be doors put in?
right. In other words, where the opening is now, there's a door that would normally face the outside to go from the outside. That will be removed, and a door will be put where these windows are, and it'll be, the unit itself will be sealed onto the building, so the elements can't get in there.
Joel, please speak into the
Oh,
mic.
I'm sorry, I'm sorry. And what'll happen is that this will be taken out, a regular door will be put in, and the unit will be sealed against the existing building, so that the elements can't get in, and.
But your plans do not show that.
Point to where those porta potties will be attached to the building,
Right
Joe.
here. Yeah, it says so right here.
Doesn't say that there's a door there, though.
Oh, I can see it. They're smaller squares.
Yeah, well, okay. All right, so we'll make sure that we show it as a regular door, but it will be, that's the way it's going to be. I mean,
Yeah, but the plans should reflect the way it's going to be.
I agree with you, but
Yeah.
I thought this would be enough, but, you know, if you want us to actually indicate a door there, that's no problem. And we'll put a note that is to be sealed against the elements of
So
the
Joel,
weather elements.
will that porta potty remain there when it gets cleaned out? Ordinarily, they come in and swap out the unit, right, with a new one? So that's going to stay there?
No, that's
or
going
will-
to stay there. The only thing they're going to do is they'll clean out the waste, and they'll take out the wastewater.
And how will,
Yeah, how are they going to do that? If,
Because,
like, say, normally a porta potty's freestanding outside.
I understand that,
Company open,
and
so,
they have arrangements with the porta potty, they will have arrangements with the porta potty company to come into the church and do it from the inside. That's
are they going to do it,
Yeah.
they're going to do it through the church?
right. So in other words, the only access to the porta potty will be from the church, nothing from the outside.
Could you describe how it's going to be sealed in, as you described it?
Yeah, what we'll do here is, of course, this is all a wooden structure, and we'll actually build a frame around the unit, which will be sealed up with flashing against the building and against the porta potty. I mean, once we get to the point where we have to get building permits, we'll have all those details and,
Is
so
the,
is it
Right.
as if you took the door off, and then the door, that opening would be facing into the building, and you open up a wall, and then
the
you...
opening up, the door will come off, the opening itself will be put up against the building, and then an appropriate door will be put, which is shown right over here, will be put so that you can access it directly from the church.
is the porta potty going to actually be attached to the building?
It has to be, otherwise you get the water and snow would be coming
What-
through. So it'll be flashed, and a frame will be put around to,
And it'll be affixed to the building?
correct, absolutely.
So Joel, you're going to build a frame around the plastic porta potty?
Yes, around this portion here, that will be up against the building, so that the elements will not be,
So when the
So
time comes,
the
you'll-
issue that we're really wrestling with is a beautiful historic church with two blue plastic attachments to the rear of it. You've just described enclosing effectively those blue plastic attachments. I think the board and their role as architectural review board
to see
would feel much
details
more
on it.
comfortable if that were a wooden enclosure, similar to the rest of the building, if there were clapboard on it instead of blue plastic, which is going to fade in the sunlight and look lousy after a couple of years.
Well,
So-
to follow up on Pat's comment here is if you're looking at the building as a neighbor onto the left, fairly close by, I don't think they want to be sitting on that patio every day looking at a porta stand. So I do the blue porta stand. I do agree with Pat that since we do serve as the architectural review board, is we should fence it off, something should be in the
okay.
backyard.
I don't disagree with that. We can,
Okay.
actually, what we can do, to go along with what Pat said, we actually can create almost like something similar to the,
Why don't you just build an attached shed and put it inside the shed?
you could put a shed around on the three sides.
Sorry, I don't mean
Right.
to.
what we'll do is we'll build a shed and set this thing into it, and then you have no problem.
Right, that's what I envisioned when you were talking about enclosing it to protect it from the elements. That's why I was asking.
Well, we're gonna do it, not for the whole thing, we're just gonna do it around the opening, but basically, based on what the board and the consultants say, what we can do is actually build it and then set this thing into it. And that way, you're not gonna have any problem with weather, or any elements getting into it.
So,
Correct.
so
You're not gonna
question,
lose all your
with
heat,
or
too.
without that enclosing shed, by affixing the porta potty to the building and taking off the door to give it taking out something on the building to give it access, aren't you expanding the footprint of the building?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, well,
Joel, I have another idea
so
that may,
what's the problem with expanding
Setback.
It's a permitted use.
it's a permitted use, so we're not, so we can do that.
Joel,
And I think architecturally, from what you were suggesting, it's going to make the, basically keep the building in the same style that it's been that way since the 1800s.
you're getting the sense that the board, again, with the architectural review responsibility, wants to see that enclosed on the outside.
Okay.
And I understand building a shed around it, but let's also be conscious of the fact that that could fail and may need to be replaced one day. So maybe in lieu of, and this is just my idea, in lieu of building a shed around it, you put privacy fencing around it with a gate on the backside, so you could always pull that unit out should it fail. White, tight, not lattice, but a tight white.
Yeah, that's a better.
The white would blend
Well,
into the rest of the building,
we
and
can
it's
do
just a
also,
thought.
Architecturally,
Maybe they can actually do the maintenance from outside then and not have to drag the hoses through the
Yeah, maybe
church,
there might be some way of accessing the tank from the backside. Because I was a little surprised, it's not a,
as opposed to going
not-
through walking down the.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea, and I think, the other issue with respect to this is, this time of year, I don't know that I'd be too comfortable using that uninsulated rest facility. But if you insulate it and enclose it, it's probably a lot more comfortable. So I think if you can look at different ways to do this, I think
Okay.
the board can make a good decision, Joel.
okay. Yeah, I was going to say, what we can do is, as you can see, the roof of the vestibule and the roof of the church itself is a fairly steep roof. We can just do something to emulate that with the roof over the porta potty. And then I think the other idea is your idea, which is good. So that maybe we can put some kind of opening to the back of this structure so they can get into it without.
should it crack, should it fail, should it need to be
Second-
replaced?
Is there going to be lighting in the porta potties at all?
Of course.
So that's all going to be maintained from inside the church?
Yes.
Unless we do the fencing on the back?
Yeah.
I think, Joe, when you come back, since we do play the architectural review boards, we have their responsibilities, you should bring some renderings
Well,
of what that would look like.
Of course, well, we just talked about it, so of course I
Yeah.
will do it. But as far as the handicap ramp, we did do a rendering of course, this is the basic outline of the
Please
church.
speak into the microphone.
This is the basic outline of the church, and this is the handicap ramp, which will come from the left side, coming up to the front door. Of course, there'll be steps for people who don't have to use the handicap ramp.
So the access is in the rear, is that the,
That's the front. This is the front of the building.
so where would the planters go?
Oh, very simple. If you recall, there's a fair amount of distance between the front of the building. Actually, there's over 11 feet from the vestibule to the property line. The handicap ramp will take up 5 of those feet, so there's 6 feet left between the handicap ramp and the property line for the planters.
I think you have to be careful with those planters too, because as you mentioned, that there's a lot of fast traffic on that road, and you don't want to be blocking any lines of sight.
Oh, no, these planters are
Yeah.
way down.
Okay.
They're not going to be more than 2.5 feet high.
Is there a back door to the church or other side doors, or is that the only?
No, the only entrance is the one in the front.
Joel, the other thing you have to think about, if you put doors on the back to get to the porta potties, if somebody wanted to gain access to the church for bad reasons, could they pull the porta potties out and then get into the church? So, because they're probably not very heavy, right?
I never picked them up, so I don't
You
know.
may want to make sure they're secure somehow also.
Well, then
security
maybe,
reasons.
then maybe we should go back to the idea of having a structure, but taking your idea and putting a secure door in the back with obviously locked, so that
Probably a better
it's not
idea.
easy, not just a fence that they have to go through to get in. That will make that, so we'll take a little of yours, a little of mine, and I think we'll come out with a good solution.
We get one chance to do this right. That's why we're not trying to nag you, we're trying to get it done right and aesthetically pleasing.
Joel,
yeah,
Joel,
I
what's
think
the
this would
railing
function a lot
on the
better.
ramp? I'm sorry, the material on the railing of that ramp? The front ramp?
Oh, it's going to be like a wrought iron white.
Thank you.
Joel, I just have one question. So Mike says it requires 17 spots. You're talking about 7.
Correct.
How many of the 7 are going to be handicapped?
It's only required to have one.
1. Okay, so then really 6 spots left. You have an occupancy of 51, and I know last time when we talked about the parking spots, there was some comments that, well, many of the people come by van.
Yes, they own a van, and the parishioners are picked up.
Okay.
So they'll have, maybe the van will be there, and you may have the most, I mean, even now where they have their services up in Carmel, there's no more than maybe 2 or 3 cars.
Okay. So, I mean, they're really certain that 7 or 6 spots is going to cover their needs?
Yeah, I mean, they've been in existence for a while, and this is basically, some of them are elderly, and that's why they have the van, and they just go around, pick everybody up, and then take everybody home.
I'm just,
No, it's a
you know,
good- it's a
you're
legitimate
making the
question.
right move, putting the planters in front so people don't park in front, and I think we all appreciate that, and I just wanted to make sure that we were good with that number, so.
Parking is the big thing that really concerned me from the beginning,
Yeah.
to be honest, because I didn't want them parking down the road across the street.
Right.
Because people come down that hill and make that turn very swiftly.
Yeah, could we,
Yeah,
This is Pastor Evans, he's the head of the church, and basically, just explain to them now about the van and that.
maybe a little overview of what's
Sure.
planned.
Right now, we have about 20 members, and we have like another 5 that are visitors that are not faithful. And I would say each service is going to have only like 10 to 12 attendees for now, especially with the COVID. We had to keep everybody with the 6 feet distance. So we're planning to have 2 services, so we don't have too many people at the same time. So one in the morning in English and another one in the afternoon in Spanish. So we're not going to have everybody at one point, everybody together there. We're going to have no, we don't. Yeah, it wouldn't sit. Right now, we only use like 3 cars, and with the van, that's it. Yeah, and the van, will holds like 12 people. It's pretty good size. And,
Mostly weekends, I assume?
Yeah. Sundays, is
Okay.
when everybody's off. Yeah. Yeah.
it looks like a beautiful new home, and I hope.
Yeah, the building is perfect for us because we're not a big church, we're a small church, and we focus on doing more like missionary work. A lot of countries, we help a lot of widows, children, we sponsor a lot of people in need, so that's why very few families got together to do this and help the community locally as well.
Good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
No offense, Joel, we just prefer to hear it from a guy with a collar than you.
Something wrong with my collar?
So Joel, you're going to add a well to this property, and you're going to use well water for the porta sand?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
There is just to explain how, of course, obviously from the well to the building, it'll be below the frost line. And then there is crawl space under the building, so we can go under the building and then,
Oh, okay.
go off to porta potties. To the off to 2 porta potties.
Joel, are those porta potties heated?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, okay, the pastor just reminds me that, I think I mentioned it last time, but they do come once a week. Although, as he said, it's only going to be used Sunday morning and Sunday afternoon, but they do come once a week, in and out.
Okay, Vicki, you good?
Yeah, no questions.
So,
So could you at least get us to the zoning board so we...
no, it's only 2 more, we'll be back here in 2 weeks. There was too many concerns and questions about the porta potties. I don't think we're going to slow you down at all if you come back with some drawings, and some renderings of the porta potties. It was a good dialogue, but I think we all really like to see that because of our role as playing the architecture review
No, I
also.
have no problem with that.
Yeah.
Obviously, if you get the variances, you have to still have to come back.
We'll see you in 2 weeks, Joe.
Doesn't affect your timing. The deadline was yesterday. So
What's
you-
that?
The deadline was yesterday, so you won't be on for January, so you'll be on for February. It won't affect your timing.
So you come back and then you're still in the same
It
slot.
won't slow you down at all.
Okay, good. I didn't realize that the meeting dates
We-
were...
We'd like to get this done, we'd like to just get it done right.
No,
We're excited about it, it's going to be really nice.
We have the same goal.
Yeah.
Great.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. And to all of you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a nice evening. So, since there's no one here for the public hearings, it would-
Mr. Chairman, I would ask you to do is open the public hearing and adjourn it.
yeah. All right, we're going to go back to the first item on the agenda tonight, Spins Bowl, 23 Old Route 6. This is for a public hearing. Anybody here wish to be heard from the public? Good night.
Good night.
Night.
If not, can we get a motion?
Oh, motion to close? Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn the public hearing.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Pat, will you prepare a resolution? I think we've seen Spin Bowl here many times, and since no one's here from the public, I'd like you to prepare that, Pat.
We just adjourned it. You can't
Just adjourn it, so we would have to give the applicant an opportunity to speak. Presumably there was some issue tonight, so they'll come back at the next meeting. If you want me to prepare the resolution, I will. You can open and close the public hearing.
Yeah,
The public hearing would still be open.
but we can have the resolution prepared as not to push it back another 2 weeks, since we've reviewed this.
No issues.
Right.
So I'll rescind my motion and change it.
No, I think it's fine.
All right.
Yeah, so you don't have to rescind anything, just the direction to prepare the resolution, that's fine.
Yeah.
Right, so we never closed it, so.
Yep. Yep, we're good.
And then lastly on the agenda tonight is the minutes from November 24th and from December 17th. Do I have a motion to accept the minutes as distributed by Rose?
I'll move the minutes.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion to adjourn?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Night.